Hey guys, gals and MBs, I'm here today with the Walrus Audio Slöer. So I had one of these back kind of when they came out, and I decided to get another one because I was really like, I needed a lo-fi reverb to do the kind of music style that I really wanted to work with, but I wanted an ambient lo-fi reverb. And there's not really much out there, especially in the stereo space. This is one of the few pedals out there based on the Spin Semiconductor FV1 that's also stereo and also has a variable clock speed. And the variable clock speed makes this a very unique pedal, and the algorithms in it actually sound really, really good. Well, they sound bad, but in a very good way. Let's just put it that way. The filtering is really nice, the decay characteristics, and so forth. And this video is going to be like basically a tips and tricks guide on how to get the best out of your Sloer, because I've already done a review quite some time ago, and I compared this against the Cloudburst, and the Cloudburst is its own thing. It's a much more high fidelity pedal, and against the Eventide Space pedal, which I have one, it's just not on my table right now. All right, well, we could get started with really how I like to use it. I have the habit here, and we're going to use that as a very long delay, kind of like for our Furpertronic style thing. We can hear what we can actually do with it. All right, so I have an Akai MPC Key 37 off screen right now, and I have the Fabric XL running a harp patch, and this is what it sounds like. All right. Let me just get a little closer there so it's a little more comfortable for me. So let's see. And one of the interesting things you can do with this pedal, and if you don't know that, it has presets. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Let's go through the presets. You hold down both foot switches. To save a preset, you get the knobs where you want it. You find the color that you want. See, now it's in red. And you can change between a few presets. I'm in the red mode, so that means I already put something custom in here. It's not what's in there by default. So to see where the knobs are, it's pretty easy. See how that turned to purple? Just turn the knobs until you get into let's see, so that's there. And then you can see how it's changing color there. That tells you where the knobs are in that preset. So I'm going to get it to exactly where I had it here, and we will go ahead and do it. So it's in there, and I think if I hold this down, if you hold the bypass down, you have different wave shapes you have for the modulation, and I believe I have this one in random or sample and hold, but yeah, it's random, which is nice. So there we go. This is what this sounds like by default. Well, not by default, but the way I set it up. The knobs you see here are exactly how this patch is set up. And obviously we have this set in wide mode. You have multiple modes. You have a medium, narrow, and wide for the stereo image. All right, that's a big, gorgeous ambient reverb. It might be a little overbearing for something like this harp. And that's kind of what we're going to explore today. We can turn the filtering down, so if you want a long decay time with something like an acoustic instrument such as this harp, maybe you want to turn the filtering down. You do have to be aware that the filter on this has a little bit of a resonant spike, so we can turn it like quite down to there. Maybe we want to turn the mix down a little. And just as an aside, we have mono coming into this. This is creating the stereo image. As you heard, if we turn it off, it's completely mono going in because the habit is mono, and we're going to use that later. And yeah, so less mix, maybe a little less filtering when you want a long ambient sound with this pedal. And X becomes a vibrato. If we turn it up a little too high, it might be. you can hear that vibrato happening. That's a vibrato on top of the built-in modulation, and yeah, it's quite beautiful. So that's in the dream mode. You have the X control here controls the vibrato modulation. So let's turn it back down. I usually have it about there. And of course we can turn up the modulation of the built-in modulation. Sorry that this is moving around. I should put some feet on it, but here's with the depth all the way up on the standard modulation. I'm going to bring up the filter so you can hear it a little better. You can hear it doing its thing in the background. It's actually quite gorgeous. And one thing you should realize, even though you don't see a rate control directly on the front, you do have a rate control of the modulation. You hold down the foot switch for bypass until it starts blinking, and now this becomes a rate control. And you can see the bypass LED blink in time with the rate that you're setting. Let's turn it all the way up. So the depth and the rate is all the way up, and we're in random modulation. And of course we can pick different wave shapes, so you kind of have like a ramp up and ramp down sort of things that are kind of like a warped vinyl style effect. That's what the manual states. They're like asymmetric waveforms. And then by default, I believe the Dream Algorithms preset on here has a sine wave, which sounds really nice. And this is exaggerated again because we have the speed and the depth all the way up. So, and then let's hear the square really quick. All right, let's go ahead and go back. So you hold this down. Let's go back to random. Let's turn the rate nice about there, and let's go ahead, the depth of the rate, and let's turn the speed down right about there. Yeah, that's nice. Let's turn the depth all the way down so we can hear the X control in the Dream algorithm. Obviously, we're still in the Dream algorithm, but that's the X all the way up, so that's a lot of vibrato, and then you can turn the depth up on top of that. But I like to turn the depth maybe around here in random, and then the X for the vibrato about here for the Dream algorithm in particular. All right. Really, really gorgeous, and yeah, if that was it, then this pedal would, I still think, is worth it. And we have the stretch control. This is the clock control. We didn't even go over that yet, so let's actually hear the clock control with the filter a little more open. So the clock control is going to change the fidelity of the reverb, but it's also going to change the maximum decay time. One thing you do have to be aware with the Dream algorithm, if you turn the decay knob all the way up, it freezes it. It does the same thing as holding the sustain up. We can try that really quick, so. Right? But the problem with that is it's not like the sustain on something like the, what is it, the Strymon, what is it, oh man. The Night Sky, I'm so sorry, where we can play over the top of it, or even Walrus's other pedals that have this mode. The, what is it, the R1. So it'll just keep that going over and over again. But the same thing happens if you turn the decay up all the way in this algorithm. So, right. So just be aware of that. You can't go too high up. All right, so we have the decay set like that, and we have the stretch all the way down. And if we turn the stretch all the way up, you'll hear the decay gets a lot shorter, but we also get a much higher fidelity of reverb, which is not what this pedal excels at. You can also really hear the modulation a bit more. It's more pronounced, I should say. It's less smoother, in my opinion. This excels if you do need a shorter reverb when you want to use the vibrato, if you have a much lower filtering setting. It's still nice and it's good for a shorter ambience, but I wouldn't pick this as a shorter ambient pedal for things that I usually do. So yeah, let's hear that again with the stretch turned all the way down, so the lower clock speed. You can open the filter just a hair. Maybe a little less decay. We get a lovely modulated and moody reverb, which just sounds absolutely gorgeous. And obviously we can change the stereo image. Let's just go over that. I'm not going to go over it again. So this is the wide mode. Then we have the medium mode. And then narrow is just mono, basically. I guess that's really useful if you intend on not having a stereo spread on a specific instrument, but you still want this specific reverb to do its thing. I just keep it on wide. Like if you're doing some kind of center side processing, so like let's say we have the harp in the center and then we have strings on the side, your first take can be taken with a narrow on the harp, and then you can have the next take with your strings like set to wide, so it becomes kind of like a side thing. So I see its use. I'm not going to scoff at that. It definitely has its use. All right, so that's generally how I use it. The other two algorithms that I use quite a bit for this specific reverb are the light and the rain. Those are basically, the light and the dark. The rain I don't use all that often, but the light and the dark are both shimmer reverbs. Basically, they're pitched reverbs. So dark, obviously, if you think about it, it's a octave down, and light is an octave up. You do not have controls over what the pitch is. You either have octave up or octave down. Light sounds absolutely abhorrent when you have the clock rate all the way up, so we'll do that. And X controls the amount of pitch shifting that's in it. You'll hear that, and we'll open the filter. So, I mean, it has that old school, very, very old pitch shifting quality. The FV1 DSP in here is not very powerful. I mean, it's good for what it does, especially if you're trying to go for that low fidelity sound, but pitch shifting isn't its forte, especially at higher clock rates. Now, if you do bring the clock rate down and you add some filtering, it sounds absolutely gorgeous, which is really surprising. We'll do that. There we go. Oddly enough, when you bring the clock speed down in this specific algorithm on this pedal, it really diffuses that shimmer and it makes it really gorgeous. It's not like your traditional shimmer. And especially if you bring the filtering down, maybe a little more. Bring a little more decay in. This one doesn't do the freeze. See, no freeze. Sustain does nothing in this algorithm as far as I know. So I think what decay does in this pedal in particular, it puts more feedback onto the delay lines. I believe they're doing an algorithm where they just use a bunch of delay lines to, well, I mean, if you use a standard Schroeder algorithm that uses comb filters, which is just tiny delay lines, right? So I think that just kind of controls the feedback. I could be wrong on the algorithm. But yeah, it adds up a lot if you have it in the light mode, in particular on the decay all the way up. So I usually keep it around there. Can add a little more filtering in. if we open the filter all the way, it actually still sounds gorgeous with a low clock rate. It might get a little too ringy for some people. Maybe a little like that. Alright, absolutely gorgeous. Let's move on to the dark, since we'll just use the opposite. And so the dark mode, and this is how I use it. Again, basically the same settings. You don't have to worry too much about the filtering because this is lower octave, so it's not going to get too ringy. Bring the X down, which is the pitch shifter, just maybe to the center on this one because it gets a little boomy. And we're using the random modulation still here, so we can turn that up a little bit. The modulation is a lot more predominant on pitch shifting algorithms, it seems. As you can hear that sinking down, it's actually quite gorgeous. So we'll go back to the light in here with a higher modulation rate. Again, X controls the pitch shifting. Not the interval, but the amount. With that much modulation, it just sounds really otherworldly and quite gorgeous. So let's, yeah, I mean, we'll bring that back up. Bring the filtering back down. Alright, let's go to the other algorithm. I don't use rise, like at all. That is a swell algorithm that's more for a guitar and something like that in my mind. I have full control over the instruments I use for the attack and release and things like that because I use a synth or a rompler in this case. I mean, I'm using Fabric XL, and I mean, it's a sample library more than a rompler, but... So let's go to rise, or rain, I'm sorry. Rain, alright. So rain is a bunch of different taps. It's like a multi-tap echo that diffuses into a reverb, and X controls how predominant those taps are, or how much diffusion's on them. If we turn X all the way down, we'll open the filtering. We'll have the stretch all the way down like this, and you should be able to hear the individual taps. It's subtle. Listen to the attack transients on that and the little, yeah, the attack transients duplicating in that. Gorgeous, right? And then if we turn the X up, then that smooths it out because you increase some modulation. I mean, sorry, diffusion. I was thinking modulation because we're going to bring the modulation up because this algorithm actually excels with modulation. Especially higher depths. And now let's hear this with the clock rate all the way up so we get the highest fidelity. Sounds kind of weird, right? Especially with the random there. But if we turn the X down, you should be able, let's turn the depth down here, and let's see if you can hear the multi-taps a little better at a higher fidelity. It sounds very ringy and comb filtery. I don't like it when you have the stretch there. So let's turn the stretch all the way up or down so we have the lowest clock rate, X all the way up. So let's hear it with no modulation in this mode. And let's add some modulation, or quite a bit. This is where Rain in particular really excels, is high modulation, low clock rate, and high diffusion rate. So and then a lot of filtering. Let's add some filtering into it. One of the other things you can use this for is the short decay times, especially with acoustic instruments like a harp or an acoustic guitar or something like that with low sustain. What I'm getting there is that really sounds like a room. And if you're doing the narrow mixing where you're doing like your strings in a luscious like wide side channel, and then you want the narrow in like right in the middle for the harp, for instance, in this case, it's really nice on that. We can add just a little more decay. A little less decay to make it a little more natural. Maybe add higher clock rate, less depth. And that gives you a nice room reverb. So it's really versatile. I don't generally use this as a room reverb. I have other, well, really I don't anymore. I've actually stopped using big box reverbs because I generally don't use room reverbs, but if I really need like a really good sounding room space, I do like to use the Eventide space because it does have quite a bit of pre-decay options, or pre-delay options, I should say. And I mean, the cloudburst that I have sitting over here is a little better on that because you have pre-delay, something that you do not unfortunately have on the Sloer. I think the Sloer would be one of the most excellent pedals and most versatile if it had some kind of pre-delay on it, but I bet they're using all the processing power and RAM that they can on it. The unfortunate thing about the Spin Semiconductor FV1 is it doesn't have the ability to access external delay RAM. It has a fixed 44K, yes, that's kilobyte internal memory buffer that's used for the echo portion of it, or I should say the delay portion of it. You can externally clock it, but you can't externally do any kind of memory, I should say delay RAM, because obviously it does have the ability to read an external EEPROM to take program information or the instruction information for your algorithms in particular. I wish that, I think the person that designed the FV1, I'm not 100% sure, you can correct me, but I think they passed away, so there's really not any current development happening with the Spin Semiconductor stuff. I think it was somebody that used to work for Ulysses a long time ago, so yeah, like MIDI verb kind of thing. I could still be wrong about that, but I think that's what, if memory serves me right on that. But yeah, so there's really no successor to the FV1. I know there's another like processor that's very similar to it. But yeah, so there's not been any extra development, so we're not ever really going to see an FV1 with external RAM unless somebody takes the reverse engineers and makes one with more internal RAM or external RAM. I mean, if you had a 1 megabyte buffer on it, you just imagine what kind of stuff you could do. Just keep everything else the same. Add a 1 megabyte buffer, or keep everything else the same and be able to address external DRAM. That would be really awesome. So yeah. But yeah, that said, you're limited with things like pre-delay and things like that. And you're usually limited if you look at delays that use the FV1. the maximum delay time you can get is about 900 to 1000 milliseconds of delay time. It's kind of a dead giveaway on a pedal if they're using that. If it's very low current usage, like 100 milliamps or less, and it has a very short decay time, or delay time in the case of a delay, then you can almost guarantee it's using an FV1. I mean, in a delay case, you could also be using the PT2399, but not if you're doing something like a tape. Well, I guess you can emulate a tape echo with that. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting aside myself. It's the unfortunate part about the processor in here. Yes, it makes a beautiful lo-fi reverb. Most of the rhythmic stuff that you can do on it, like room reverbs and like that, do actually sound pretty bad on most of the pedals that I've heard. I really don't like, I believe the GFI Tempest, Specular Tempest, I didn't really like it. I never really made a video on that in particular because I didn't like the algorithms. I think that used an FV1. I could be wrong. I never really liked the New Neighbor pedals. I think that's how the pedal company has said those are FV1s as far as I know, and this is the one. This is the one for the FV1 algorithms. But yeah, so let's go back to the way I like to use it. So what we'll do is we'll go to the Dream. We're still on a random modulation. We'll turn the stretch all the way down, give it just a little vibrato, give it a little bit of depth. Let's add that up. Let's do the filter right around there. Let's bring the decay nice and up. And let's bring it back to wide. A little less depth. And then since I have it here, let's use a really long delay that I'm going to use for Furpatronics. And yeah, so we'll listen to that. And I have the delay set pretty high. I have the repeats about here. I'm not using any of the habit functions of this. I'm just using it as a long delay with some low pass filtering, so the echoes will get darker. So we'll do some Furpatronics, and you can hear what I mean with how good it sounds with something like that. I mean, if I could get my timing right, of course, but I'm kind of just demoing off, so it's kind of what you can really do with it. So yeah, if I had it timed right and everything, I could probably make that sound a lot better. But yeah, so you get this beautiful lo-fi, just gorgeous decays and everything like that. Yeah, somebody actually like really got on my case for calling the Sloer a lo-fi reverb. It is. It's the FV1. It's clocked extremely low when you turn the stretch down, but that's what gives it so much charm. It really does bring down the fidelity of the echoes, but in such a nice way where it's very ambient, but it kind of stays out of the way. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's just excellent for that. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to show off. Yeah, that's how I tend to use it. It's a little deeper dive and showing you what you can do with it if you have one. Maybe you have it on a shelf somewhere and you haven't used it in a while. Maybe go get it out and give it a try. And it is Labor Day weekend. It is on sale practically everywhere that sells these right now for like $297 or something like that. So, and yeah, I'm not paid by Walrus to say that. I'm just saying it's on sale right now. It's probably the best time to get it. Even if you buy one used, right now the price of these has plummeted because you can't sell them anywhere near retail values on Reverb right now because of the holiday. So maybe this is the best time before everything just goes downhill and you just can't get anything for a decent price. But yeah, that said, I'll be doing something on the blooper soon. I got another blooper, so that's really fun. I talked to Chase Bliss about this. I had a thought a while ago, and I wanted to know if the flash memory on this gets used during the standard looping procedure. And to my I should say glee, it doesn't. That's really cool because I had, when I initially reviewed this, I was thinking that the longevity of the pedal wouldn't be too high, because if you keep writing continuously to the flash when you're trying to do things with this, it's going to run the limited number of write cycles down in the flash. But apparently, Chase Bliss has responded to me, or somebody, an engineer from their company, has stated that this, or whoever it was, has stated that the blooper itself only uses the standard DRAM to hold the loops until you save them to the memory. So that makes this something that I could use as a Furpertronics/delay pedal and not worry about killing the flash on this. The Habit obviously doesn't have any flash. Well, it has flash memory for the microcontroller that controls the knobs and things like that, because I don't think the main controller does that. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The blooper does not use the flash memory in order to store your live looping data. So, well, that makes it kind of shitty. If you lose power to it, then you lose your loop. But for longevity, you can use this as a long-term, like Furpertronics style pedal, and I was concerned about that, but I'll bring that up in a video yet. I still like the Habit because it's got a 3-minute time that you can do weird things with, and it's also fun. Wish you could use 2 modifiers on this at the same time, but you know, it is what it is. And it's got that nice feed through thing where you can feed back the effects section back into the major looping memory. All right, yeah, that's the end of this video. I just wanted to again show off what you can do with the Sloer. Like I said, if you have one and you haven't used it in a while, maybe go grab it, try some of the things I like to do with it. And if you really want one, this is probably the best time of the year to grab one, or maybe during Black Friday, around those times. Get a new one, get a used one. I'm not getting paid by them, so it doesn't really matter. Just, it's probably the cheapest you'll find it around this time. So yeah, I think the cheapest I've seen it in quite some time. So all right, I will talk to you next time. I hope this video helped you out. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you like my content, and if you aren't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.